Hi, my name is Benjamin. I'm 9 years sober. I continue every day to look to help others, to give back to those who have helped me, and to the community that's given me everything back into my life.
I'm Heather Champion. I'm a licensed mental health counselor with a private practice. I met Ben while working at an outpatient treatment center called The Retreat that's not here anymore. We've maintained our friendship since then and enjoy taking time to talk about therapy and our lives as champions. Disclaimer: the content of this video is intended for informational use only. It is in no way intended as a replacement for medical or psychological advice. Should you have a medical or psychological issue, please consult with a medical professional. So this is the Real Champions podcast. I am Heather Champion. This is our fifth episode, right? Is it? This is number 5, I
I
think.
believe so.
Okay. So Heather Champion here, Benjamin Champion here, and Ben today would like to talk a little bit about inner child work. So Ben, why don't you take it from there?
Hello. Recently, as I love that while you do this podcast, it allows us to really speak about things that are kind of common topics in the therapy world in new ways. For myself, I've done a lot of self-exploration in the last, I'll say, week and a half, where the word inner child kept coming up. And I think for many of us, when we say inner child, it makes it feel like you're defeated in a degree because you're saying child and I'm supposed to be a grown person, not supposed to having to look at my child version of me. Reality of what I found out the last couple of weeks, as much as I already known this stuff, is that truthfully it is your inner child that needs attention if you want to be the fullest adult you can be. And through that exploration, I found that to myself, there is a lot of variables that may not be spoken about in these family dynamics, or Nick had me go through the 5 personality traits or something like that of a kid. And reading every single one of them, they all made sense in a certain degree. But what none of them talked about is being a child of adoption or being a child whose brother or sister is severely autistic.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, when I kept looking at them, it created an internal turmoil for myself because those are things as an adult you're told not to complain about. That is just, that's who they are, that's how you live.
Mm-hmm.
As a child, you're taught not to complain about because that's your brother or sister.
It's not nice.
And it's not nice, or it can come off as, especially as a child, it can come off as you're being self-centered or egotistical. And what I've realized over the years is I have never let that go. Even reading all these things, not one of them, like I said back to Nick, not one of these addresses what my issue is.
Mm-hmm.
But when I really looked at it, the broader scope is, well, we talk to clients about the same thing every day, is it's not always about purely your perspective, but the world perspective too.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, a lot of inner child work this week, a lot of acknowledgement more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for myself, what I found is there's not really a lot of discussion about growing up with somebody who's autistic in your family and how those things truly last in your life.
Right. And I hear 2 big themes that would really impact somebody going into their adulthood. One being a child of adoption, right? And that's a big one. I'd say that most people who have been adopted, whether they know it or not, right? There's because I've been able to identify people that were adopted and that they say, "Oh, no, I wasn't." And I'm like, "Oh, no. Yeah, I can tell you were adopted." One of the big things that I observe when I work with people that are a product of an adoption is that there's a very deep-seated sense of rejection and self-hatred that goes along with that. And I can't help but think, because a lot of times these are adoptions that happened in infancy, where that person does not remember being rejected by their birth parent. However, there's just such a deep-seated feeling of rejection there that tends to come along. And I don't know any adoptive parent who has really been able to completely erase that there is that feeling of rejection that lives within that person. And then you compound that by growing up with um, a sibling who has special needs. Now, when I'm a little kid and I already feel kind of rejected, and then I have a sibling that has special needs, and that sibling gets more attention than me. And it's kind of like, well, that's selfish. The child shouldn't care. It's like, no, 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 no. When we're little things, right, starting from birth up until we hit about adolescence, we don't understand we are not the center of the universe because we don't know that there's a universe besides that, outside of us. Like we literally don't know that. Like little kids have no idea. They don't know how to put things into context. That is the job of the big people who are raising them. That's their job to do that. And so little kids don't understand, well, it's not that your mommy hated you. It's that she wasn't able to take care of you. And so she wanted me to do it instead, which is it's a very simple way of kind of talking about what adoption is about. But a little kid doesn't understand that. What do you mean she couldn't take care of me? What do you mean she wasn't able to do these things for me? Like everybody can do that. I don't understand. Now, as an adult, you understand like what it means to take care of a child to an extent. It's a lot, but a little kid doesn't know any of those things. They don't understand that you need money to buy food, you need time, you need transportation to take them places, you need health insurance so in case they get sick to pay for taking care of their healthcare needs. Like there's a lot of things that an adult needs to take care of a child. Kids don't understand that.
Mm.
It's just there. What do you mean? It's just there. Every time I open the refrigerator, there's chocolate milk there. It's just there. It's just always there. I don't understand. Like I don't know how it got there. It just is. When we get older, we start to realize that. And the other thing is that children always want attention. That's because that's our commodity that we're looking for is attention. Kids don't want toys necessarily, especially not littles, really littles. How many times have I talked to somebody who they bought their child like the greatest thing, biggest gift that was so popular and so hot that year? And what did the kid do? They played with the box it came in. For the kids learn to want things because their parents teach them that things are good. But on their own, children do not care about things. They
That
want
was
to.
insightful. I just did some revisionist history as you were saying that, and I am that child. I don't, even to this day, I don't care about Christmas. I don't care about gifts.
Mhm.
It is about the time. It's truly, and I just, as you were saying, I kind of went back and there's a few toys I remember always asking my parents for, but even within asking for that toy, my brother was right alongside of it.
Mhm.
And if he had a tantrum, I did not get that toy. We left the store early. That makes a lot of sense. Yes, my currency of love is attention,
Mhm.
is acknowledgement of feelings, of emotions.
Right. And the thing is that for most children, I'd say that we learn other ways of showing affection because that's the ways that affection was shown to us when we were growing up. And so if we have a very superficial type of way of wanting things that's because that's the way that affection was shown to me, you know.
Very intriguing.
Yeah, that's the way that they showed it to me. Things don't really matter much to me either. I'd rather go out and buy the thing that I want and have some
Hmm.
quality time with somebody I care about.
That was insightful. And
Mhm.
then, this is why I love that we do this, and this is why I love, the aspect of just willing to open up and describe things.
Yeah.
'Cause as we're discussing this, a lot of looking back, and where I'm at now with it, clarity aspect wise, I spoke to a therapist on, I think it was Friday, just a genuine conversation. We talked the other week and had a very in-depth conversation. So I just said, and she said, "Where are you at?" I told her, I was just working on some of these things. And I brought up the, case of my brother. And it was very intriguing as she had a brother who's autistic as well. And she simply turned to me and said, "Ben, what if you're just missing that connection with your brother? What if you're mourning the relationship you never had?"
Mhm.
It takes a lot for me to be out of words or ways of deflecting. for at least 2 minutes, I couldn't deflect. I couldn't look at her. I couldn't create a sentence.
Yeah.
That was the first time in a long time I've been broken, not broken in a bad way, but broken down to where I couldn't deny what she was saying to me. I couldn't deny that pain because every time I tried,
Mm-hmm.
tears would come out of my eyes.
Mm.
But what I love most about and what I love about therapy in general, if you're able to do it and you surround yourself with really smart people who allow you to ask the basic questions, is it was fun. I texted Nick immediately after and said, I'm finding perspective, man. I'm finding what this is. Because later on in the day, I was flipping through and it was a TikTok video of a dog being adopted and it said on the screen the word adoption. And immediately I broke down in tears. So I said it to Nick, I said, wait a second. Am I starting to put these together? Is a lot of times when I cry to these videos, that is the emotions of my inner child seeping through,
Mm-hmm.
saying, hey, I'm still here. This is still affecting you today.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I love therapy. That's why I truly believe I can be 9 years sober and 33, but I'm not done growing, nor will I ever be. It's it's fun if you allow it to be.
Well, a long time ago, somebody said to me that our souls choose the life that it wants to live for the lesson of that lifetime. And when the lesson is learned, the life is over. So the way I kind of look at it is that the point of our existence is to learn and to learn our lessons. And there are lessons that will take us a very long time to learn. I mean, I know I have lessons to learn and I'm still working on them. And I know that it's going to take till the very, very end of my life to learn those lessons. I'll be here a long time.
And I think that's the humbling thing about it, if you're willing to look at it that way, is I have plenty to learn. I'm not done today. I'm not done tomorrow. If I allow myself to be open to acknowledging things in my own life or things that I've been through, then I'm willing to do the work to delve into them
Mhm.
if I want to be. And like I continue to tell people is doesn't
Mhm.
matter how far along this path you go, and especially for myself in sobriety, you're not done ever. This is, if I don't take care of these things today, who knows if I hit 12 years sober, if I allow these things after I acknowledge them to stay in my life actively,
Mhm.
without acknowledging them. And I think my next steps is learning how to forgive. Um, what would your expertise say about those next phases of self-forgiveness or forgiveness of, a mother figure, or where would you take a client
You have to
next in
think
this?
about like, okay, what am I really forgiving for? Because ultimately, the only person I need to forgive is myself. And when it comes to situations where there's some sort of like complex trauma or, acute trauma that's going on there, we blame ourselves for the bad things that happen. So when I'm a little kid, right, I said earlier, little kids don't know anything but what they see right in front of them. And so they don't know that they're not the center of attention. Anything good or bad that happens, it happens because of them. So if we want to pull apart this idea of, okay, so I was a kid who was adopted, which means that somebody rejected me. And then I ended up in this household where I could have a relationship with my mommy and my brother. But because my brother has so many issues, I don't get the relationship I wanted. I don't get the relationship with him or with my mommy. And then why is that? Well, a little kid is going to think it's because of me, because I'm not wanted, I'm not loved, I'm not good enough, and all those wonderful things we like to say to ourselves.
Where would you go next with that then? That looking inwards,
Mhm.
how does one start the forgiveness process of maybe something that not fully, like for myself, I view that as one of my greatest gifts, I guess. And that was also something I struggled with when discussing with Nick. Is my greatest gift, I believe, is my compassion, is the nature that was bred from having a brother with disabilities, learning at a very young age. Yes, the world's not all about that, and there's people who need more help than I do.
Yeah.
Thus, why I found this field after my own struggles.
Hmm.
But my greatest gift is also the thing that hurts me the most.
Hmm.
And that, I guess the hardest thing is, how do you forgive oneself for something they're proud of?
It's not that you're forgiving yourself for something that you're proud of. You're forgiving yourself for that thought that you were the reason why it happened. I'm the reason why this bad thing happened. I'm the reason why my first mommy gave me up. I am the reason why my second mommy wasn't able to give me the attention that she wanted. I'm the reason why my brother struggled. Because like it's the source of the compassion is the feeling that I have ownership of this, which everybody knows you don't, right? Logically, as an adult, now you don't, but as a little kid, you don't know that because you have no other context to put it into. So it's my fault that my brother is sick. It's my fault that my mommy is scared or busy or whatever it is and doesn't have the time for me. It's my fault because I'm not good enough. And so the forgiveness is forgiving myself for whatever I think that I did that caused this to happen to me. And there's like some little narrative that's in there, that little like there's something going on in there that had caused this in my head that tells me this is why. It takes work to get down to it though. It does take a lot of work to get there. When we start to identify that negative narrative that I'm not good enough, that no one loves me, that sort of a thing, right? And so some of that compassion that you're talking about, yeah, it could be born of that because to make up for the fact that I feel like I'm not good enough, I have to be extra good.
Mm.
Right? I have to be better than everybody else. I have to be more perfect than everybody else. I have to do this better than everybody else or that better than everybody else. And so, and that's when we have to start the forgiveness process.
The biggest place I see where it lays in my life continuously is, I'm sure you're aware, I hate pictures.
Mhm.
I hate the idea of them. I hate even myself looking. The other day I was looking to see if I had any pictures of myself, maybe three.
That hurt
um,
to give me.
but I acknowledged it and I look back at my time, and it does come back to a lot of, I do not like the idea of somebody forcing a smile on somebody. And I think it comes from childhood, always being in situations where we're about to be a family picture. We would have to get two, my older sisters together, myself and then my brother, who was always, if you directed him right away, it would cause a tantrum. Within that picture, no one asked about the 5 minutes it took to get that picture.
Mhm.
Everyone says, "Oh, you look so happy there." Well, you didn't ask me about the 5 minutes prior to this picture.
Mhm.
I was actually in the meeting on Saturday, and one of the perspective hit me. The guy speaking was just coming up on a year sober, my same age, and
Mhm.
perspective really hit me there. Of, oh, I have 9 years and I'm 33. Oh, maybe what I'm bitching and moaning about in my own head, in perspective to others, is not as big.
Mhm.
And what it made me realize as he was going through and talking about it, I decided to write a poem about what smiling means to me. And then I posted in my other TikTok account.
Mhm.
But it was refreshing on Wednesday to start identifying these things. I started in live time as I was, at work. I would at live time, if I said, "Oh, I can't do that," lifetime correct myself in my head. Why am I saying I can't do something that I know I can do? That
Mhm.
everybody around me will say you can do.
Mhm.
What is that voice saying you can't?
Mhm.
And even today, before we got on here, I texted my best friend Justin a list of things I'm going to work on this week that we try to do weekly.
Mhm.
And one of them is reframe those negative thoughts, reframe that negative talk, and
Mhm.
acknowledge it. The first thing is just getting better at acknowledging in live time, but then to start really reframing it as it's happening live time.
So when we start with the reframing, my favorite first reframing question is, and this is when I let my clients when we're working on reframing, let them kind of go through this themselves and see if they pick out the first one on the list. Because the first one on the list is the best one. What am I reacting to? What have I been thinking about here? What am I really reacting to? When I'm thinking I can't, or I should, or I need, what am I really thinking about? Or I'm supposed to, right? Those are the things that get us into a lot of trouble. The shoulds, the supposed tos, the can'ts. Because when we use those words, those are words that are boxes. Those are walls. I hate those words.
I'm not saying you need to do that stuff. Putting you in a box.
Mhm. Well, those are words like, why am I building a box right now? Why am I saying should? Why am I saying supposed to? Why am I saying can't? Why am I building myself a box? Those are words that make boxes. They put me in a box. They close me off from the world.
That makes sense.
I'm closing the doors by doing that, right? There's other versions of there's other instead of should, you can say could. Instead of can't, I could say could.
Just reframing and practicing until it becomes inner dialogue consistently.
Right. If I acknowledge, well, like, why am I thinking I can't do this? Or am I thinking I should do this? And why am I beating myself up over it? Right? Because those both those kind of like terms of the supposed to's, those will now lead to, well, I'm a piece of crap and I need to I need to do this or I need to do that, right? That's what that's coming back to. That's where it's headed. It's headed in that direction of like self-deprecation and putting myself down. So why am I going there? Why is whatever I'm thinking about bringing up all this, like this route, this path to negativity? What about it is just like queuing all this up for me? Because I know that I don't really feel that way. Why is it bringing up so much emotion? When I start working with people through that, right? So we take those negative thoughts, like I'm not good enough, that I'm not, no one loves me, all of that. And we start taking reframing questions and we put them aside for them, right? And if I'm started thinking like I'm not good enough, I'm never going to be, no one's ever going to love me. Because that's one of those thoughts that comes from like, itty bitty little kid time. Start thinking that, why? What's going on right now that's making me think this? Am I just misunderstanding what's going on around me?
Being more insightful into the reasoning of your chosen words.
Mhm. Right. Why is that? Like, I did that exercise with somebody once, and she was living at home with her parents. And, she's in her mid-30s, had to move back home, had to leave, up north, move down here to Florida, living in a retirement community with her retired parents. And she's somebody who has to go out for work every day, and she visits people. And she says to her parents, because this would happen often, I'm going to leave in a few minutes. Please don't block me in the driveway. Okay, sure, no problem. Her parents go and do whatever they're going to do. She gets her stuff together. She goes to walk outside with all of her stuff. And guess what? They just blocked her in the driveway, right? First thought is nobody cares about me. I'm not important, right? And in reality, it's not that her parents hate her. It's not that her parents dislike her in any way. It's just that they have absolutely no clue that their actions are affecting her. She's like, but I just told them. I'm like, yes, your parents love you. They love you they wouldn't let you live in their house rent free, while you're getting yourself back on your feet. They just don't have a clue. Let's look at other areas where they just don't have a clue. When your dad rinses off the dishes in the sink and doesn't actually wash them. Oh, they're clean. They look clean to me. I ran something over them, right? She's like, oh my God, that's horrible. When they use your stuff without asking, there's so many things that they can be doing, right? That would be a little bit more sensitive to you and your needs, but it doesn't occur to them to do them. It's not because they don't love you. It's just that it doesn't occur to them. Again, that's taking that little kid mentality that the world revolves around me and everything these people are doing has to do with me. We need to take ourselves out of it.
Because reality is they're grown parents doing grown parent things and don't remember that their kids are living with them necessarily
Yeah. It's
in the
like, oh, yeah,
sense
yeah,
of
yeah.
it's a day-to-day routine.
I won't block you in. I won't block you in. It's like, oh, I blocked you in. Oh, yeah, you're right. You did say something about that. Retired parents, like,
Yep.
retired
You
parents
know
are
what you get.
examples. They don't think, they don't realize that we still go to work and we have things to do. A couple of years after retirement, yeah, they're good, but give them like 5 to 10 years after they've retired and forget it. They have no idea what it's like to have a job anymore. It completely like out of their mind, it's gone.
New routine, new life.
Right. And it's just like, you have to remind them all the time, like, I have to go to work. I will be at work for 8 hours, I'll be back at around 5:30, and then I'll start dinner. Oh, well, we can have dinner at 4:30? No, because I don't get home until after 5. So there's no way that's gonna happen, right? Yeah. And retired parents are fun like that. But right. We are out of time for today.
Well, that was a good talk we had. I think inner child work is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, we can keep talking about it if you like. But that's a wrap on episode 5. And we will see you again in 2 weeks.
Adios.
All right. This has been the Real Champions Podcast, episode 5, Exploring Inner Child Work. What does it mean to be a champion when that's your name? The Real Champions Podcast is co-hosted by Heather Champion and Benjamin Champion. It's edited by Heather Champion. Produced by Maitri Counseling Services, all rights reserved. Questions or comments can be referred to Heather at Maitri Therapy, MAITRI-therapy.com.
You are not alone. Remember, if you or someone you know is struggling with thoughts of suicide, please call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-TALK. For local help, dial 211 on your phone to be connected to resources in your area. If you experience mental health or substance abuse issues, please call the National Alliance or Mental Health or NAMNI at 1-800-950-NAMNI. Or in a crisis, text NAMI, NAMI, to 741-741. Check out the NAMI website, nami.org, for additional resources.